Hello, welcome to my alternate reality. I want to talk today about weaving the fabric of time that is your life. Weaving is such a beautiful metaphor. When I was in college, I was drawn to weaving, and I sucked. I was just awful. I had no gift for it. But I can see in retrospect why it was that I was drawn to it. Weaving is such a intricate process, and all the threads are dependent upon all the other threads in the weaving. And if you make a mistake, it's possible to fix that by carefully drawing out a thread and putting back another thread. So your final piece, which is quite strong because of all the interconnections that are within it, is actually quite malleable. And it's a nice metaphor for life and what you can do with a life. Because time, as I've mentioned time and time again, is not linear. Time is ever-present, it is eternal, it is ongoing, and we exist at every moment that we exist just now. So we always exist, and all these moments always exist. And it is possible for us to connect with our future and with our past, or what we call our future and our past, because the mind has a difficult time wrapping itself around everything happening at once. Possibly only because we've been taught that way. I don't know. It may be something intrinsic to the DNA. I don't have an answer for that. And I hate to use the words past and future, but they're useful in this context, and so I feel I must. I first learned about the powerful potential of this during the early days of my healing, shortly after I had the return of many repressed memories from childhood, which opened doors into other places that I hadn't even imagined existed. And I worked with a very fine PhD psychotherapist who also happened to be psychic, an interesting combination. And as an exercise, she took me on a mental journey back in time. And she took me to where some of the more intense abuse had taken place when I was very young. And she had me bring her with me so that she was there to support me. And it went very well. I mean, the abuse still occurred, but I had a kind of a support present that I didn't have otherwise. And I integrated that over time, and in fact ran the exercise a couple of times without her, taking different people back with me to be there. And of course, I did ask the people, because vibrationally, it wouldn't be right to just decide, oh, I think I'll take my sister Anne back to when I was being sexually abused. Because Sister Anne may not want to do that, and she will feel the vibration of that. Because it's not like, I mean, A, she's related to you, B, that's a huge vibration, and C, you're consciously connecting with her. So even though she's not physically present, you know, there's politeness in this sort of thing. You have to ask someone if you can please take them back with you, or forward if that's the direction you're going. And all I can say is I healed magnificently from those things. I have a sister that I endured those things with, and she's broken in ways that can't be fixed, can never be fixed. She doesn't even have the ability to gather enough wits about her to do what I'm suggesting that you do. But what I'm suggesting to you is that I did it, and it worked. I no longer vibrationally carry the fear of that, the terror of that, the anger that that generated in my body for decades of my life. All of that has shifted and become very different. So I know that it works and it's worth trying if you're up to it. Again, it's an intense endeavor, but this works. And what you are doing effectively is changing the effect that whatever that traumatic experience was on you as a person. It doesn't change the fact that it happened. It happened. That's part of what makes you you. And in fact, if you do an exercise like this where you're changing your relationship to it, where you're taking back with you the energy of, okay, this is something that happened to help shape who I am, you're changing everything in a good way. So it's something to consider trying. If you have cautious feelings about it, honor them and tell someone what you're trying to do or what you're going to do so that you have some backup. I always had backup. And go for it. It's interesting because in museums now, well, always in museums, they would have an item or a painting, whatever, and it would hang, and beside it would be a piece explaining a text piece that would explain the visual piece that you were seeing. Sometime, I don't know when exactly, but sometime since I've been grown up, they changed the name. Well, I'm not even sure that it had a name. It was just an explanation that hung on the wall. They now have a name for that, and it's called an interpretation. Because somebody along the way finally realized that that's all that explanation was, that we can't ever really know what something from 2 million years was, but we can interpret it. So what you're doing effectively when you're traveling back through time to work on yourself, with yourself, and that's the only person you have any right to work on, you're enabling a different interpretation of your own life, which you're allowed to do. You're allowed to get strong. You're allowed to re-envision your life. In fact, I encourage it if it's necessary. So, just something I wanted to put forward, a suggestion, a possibility, something that's very real and very doable. And in going the other direction, if you care to, it doesn't work so well to envision you as specific things outside yourself. Let's say envision you as the leader of the free world. What works is envisioning you as a more compassionate person, a more helpful person, a happier person. It's seeing you in some kind of a circumstance where you can pick up a little bit of whatever happiness you have hold of and magnify it in your so-called future self. That has to be about just the person. Because the minute you set something goal-oriented into it, you're outside of you. And this is strictly about you. So have a good time with yourself. Have a good time with reinventing yourself. It's fun. It's fun. That's what I was going to say. It is fun. And, better yet, it's healing. And it's useful. Thank you for being with me here today in the sun, in my nice space. I wish you nice space. Bye.